It is the holy grail of Christmas movies, 1983's A Christmas Story based on the John Shepherd stories. And there he is, Peter Billingsley himself. And he's back for one more shot at the role that gave him eternal glory.
A Christmas Story Christmas, yeah, this is the legacy sequel that I had no idea was coming. Until like a few weeks ago when I saw the logo on Twitter with the poster and I was like, no freaking way. So this brings back the one and only Peter Billingsley as Ralphie Parker in the role that made him such an icon over the holiday season. And Ralphie is now this aspiring, struggling science fiction author. He has a very happy family, his wife and 2 children. They live in the Chicago suburbs, but they return home to Homan, Indiana, and that lovely house on Cleveland Street, all to support Ralphie's mother, who was played here by Julia Hagerty, all after the old man tragically passes away. So Ralphie wants to follow in his old man's footsteps and give his kids a magical Christmas like the one he had as a child. So in case you couldn't tell by that terrible John Shepherd impression at the beginning of the video, A Christmas Story is special to me. Just to put this in hindsight, the tradition at my family's household growing up, we order Chinese takeout and then we watch A Christmas Story at least once on that TBS 24-hour repeat, which should probably still be happening again this year. And with the way that first Christmas Story film ended, with Ralphie laying in bed holding that Red Ryder BB gun, which, spoiler alert, the movie's like 40 years old, but it's like, this movie has become so commercialized at this point. It's become a cult phenomenon in this day and age because, let's face it, this movie was not a financial hit at the box office when it first came out. So it took repeat home video viewings and 24-hour marathons on TBS for this to become a household name. And it's a movie that never tries to be more than the sum of its parts. That's why I love A Christmas Story so much. It's because it's a movie that can show you how good it is by just being so simple. It's not gonna be the flashiest movie you'll ever see in your life. It's not even gonna be the movie that makes the most sense. But it doesn't have to, because all those characters that you meet along the way are just so darn good, and they're so charming. There's so much likability to these characters. Every single one, even the ones that you would expect not to like the bullies. There's just so much fun in them. And I think A Christmas Story Christmas really does capture the original charm. I was not really expecting to like this movie as much as I did, but oh my god. You can tell this is a labor of love for one Peter Billingsley, who is just so darn charming in this. And he's got a big task, not only reprising the role that made him as famous as he is, but he also acts as the movie's narrator, which would make sense because Ralphie is all grown up at this point. The whole gimmick of the original Christmas Story was that it's Ralph as an adult narrating about his childhood. And while Peter Billingsley isn't quite as eloquent as John Shepherd is in the original, he certainly carries all the passion that John Shepherd did. And that's carried through in every single performer, new and returning. Even the new performers that they get, the woman who plays his wife Sandy in this movie is very, very funny. Even his 2 young children, even though they don't get nearly as much development as the kids in the original movie do, they're still very, very charming. And one unanswered question from the original Christmas Story is finally answered in this. We finally get to see what one of the Bumpus humans looks like. I thought that was going to be left so ambiguous. But all of the returning performers that we get in here, we get the right amount of doses for. All with the exception of one, which I'll get to later towards the end of this video when I get into my nitpicks. The returning performers that they get, what else can you really say about them? They are so game for this, and they're so ready to bring back the charm. Seeing Flick and Schwartz argue in a tavern that Flick is now the owner of, and just hearing these types of arguments in a different context is really, really fascinating, actually. We do get Zack Ward returning as Scut Farkas, and he is just as scary as you would have expected. I'll just say that much. He still stares at you with those yellow eyes. He had yellow eyes. So help me God, yellow eyes. Don't ask me why that impression is so fun to do. But there's an interesting reversal with his character that I wasn't necessarily fully expecting. When you're watching his scene with Ralphie, you can sense that there's a reversal coming, but it's not given to you in the way that you would fully expect. And that's what I think will hold this movie back from being a perennial holiday classic or anything like that, like its predecessor. It's a little bit too predictable, at least for my liking. How all these little vignettes play out, you can sort of see where they're going here and there. And that's especially if you're as big of a fan of the original movie as I was. But again, it's the simplicity of all these situations. The snowball fights. Ralphie's car is breaking down because of a faulty radiator, which turns him more and more into the old man than you might think. And yeah, okay, let's address the parents in this. The mother is instead played by Julia Hagerty in place of the retired Melinda Dillon. And you know what? If you can't see past the fact that it's not the original actress, I get it, but I understand why they brought someone different in. And for what it's worth, Julia Hagerty was really, really good in this movie. She definitely captures the spirit of the original performer, but she still manages to make it her own. There's a frequent running joke in here involving casseroles, which leads to a lot of clever callbacks with the children at the dinner table. Just made me think of the scene where she had Randy snort like a pig into his food, which always made me crack up as a kid. And that's another great thing about this film, is all the really great Easter eggs. You might as well have just called this an Easter story Easter, which thank God this movie does not refer to the Easter spin-off that came out. But just with everything going on, there's a triple dog dare involved in this. I mean, it's so fun. It really just takes you back to your childhood when you watch this movie over and over again. And while there are certain splices of the old movie intercut as flashback sequences, that can be a problem in a lot of other movies. But here it works, mainly because, unfortunately, Darren McGavin is no longer with us. His absence is addressed in this Legacy sequel, and the movie is dedicated to the man's memory in such a great gesture. And I'm not gonna lie, it really got me emotional at a lot of points. Like, I can't believe it, but it did. So is A Christmas Story Christmas on HBO Max gonna be the flashiest movie of the year? No. Is the movie gonna be even the most memorable of the year? No, probably not. But at the same time, I was never really expecting a Christmas Story sequel ever, because the way the first movie ended is so perfect. But just the way they tie everything up with this feature, it really is something very, very sweet that I highly recommend you guys stream on HBO Max this holiday season. Aside from the predictability, my only other nitpick with this movie is that Ralphie's younger brother Randy, who's played by Ian Petrella, egregiously sidelined. And I don't know why that is. We do see enough of Flick, we see enough of Schwartz, we see enough of Scott Farkas, but Randy, I just wanted a little bit more. I think there was a missed opportunity to do something even more emotional involving the little brother in here. But as it stands, this is still pretty darn good. I'm gonna give A Christmas Story Christmas a B+. I really don't care if you hate this movie. As a big fan of the original, this one brought a smile to my face. But let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. What is your favorite Christmas movie of all time? Is it A Christmas Story? Is it something else? As always, I love discussing all things movies here on the regular. Y'all are invited to the party. Do consider becoming a subscriber and hit that notification bell. Do me a favor and smash the like button, because that all really, really helps this channel grow, and it continues to build this lovely community that we've already established here. Folks, y'all are the best. Stay tuned for more exciting content very, very soon. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence!